It's now time for me to introduce the keynote speaker, Dan King. Mr. King's professional career includes over 30 years in the insurance industry for travelers in a variety of positions. Over more than 3 decades in the industry, he was performing his role as an underwriter. In his current position, he is primarily responsible to assist independent agents as they grow long-term profitably. He has assisted in the development and the implementation of programs, training, and strategies to assist the agents grow their businesses through work with PIA and other trade associations. As marketing and training consultant, he has assisted countless independent agents in the area of business planning, job design, mergers and acquisitions, and staff compensation plans. This guy is good. I'm thinking about putting a statue in front of my office. You gotta hear him out. He's one of the best in the business, and if you guys can take a little bit from it, you'll all benefit. I promise you. We're very pleased to have him today and join us today. Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you. Can everyone hear? Good, good. I always feel very flattered to get asked back to speak here, and when Mike had contacted me, I thought about the fact that I spoke here 3 years ago, and when he said, "What do you think about speaking here again?" I said, I had nothing else. That was it 3 years ago. But so much has really happened in our industry and continues to happen in our industry, and I wanted to share a lot of that with you. I travel about 120,000 air miles a year. I work with somewhere between 300 and 350 independent agents countrywide. Many of them are going through a lot of the same things that you're seeing in our business. One of the things that I'm finding is really important to agencies. So many agencies are talking about reinventing themselves going forward. Moving more from a service environment to more of a sales environment, which I totally agree with the direction that they're going. Not only is this happening in our industry, but change taking place on a day-to-day basis. It is very, very tough to keep up with all of the things that are happening, not only globally, but within our industry. And what I wanted to share with you are some of the things that I'm seeing agencies begin to look into as they begin to kind of reinvent themselves going forward. One thing that I wanted to kind of share with you was a company that did a great job of reinventing themselves, even though they're not in our industry. I don't know if anyone recognizes what this computer is. Anyone recognize that? It's a Mac, absolutely. And what's really interesting about Mac, they were in a lot of trouble financially when they were only into computers. And someone very, very bright decided to kind of reinvent where they were going and what they were doing within their industry. The first thing they did, and this is a recognizable logo, the first thing they did was to change the logo, part of that reinventing themselves moving forward and becoming kind of this new entity. They also brought about an entirely new amount of products to the public. And needless to say, they hit over 50 million people within a 3-year period with iPods. 50 million people in 3 years. It took TV 13 years to hit 50 million people. So it's really interesting when you think about what can be accomplished when someone decides to reinvent themselves. What I'm finding now is so many agents approach me and ask me, how can we begin to reinvent ourselves? What are other agencies doing? How can we begin to be more of a sales organization moving forward? It's interesting when you look at the State of the Union, you look what's going on in our business, there are a lot of pressures that independent agents are putting up with. When you look at the social media pressures, the level and declining revenue or client count, I speak to a lot of agencies that are suffering with revenue that is either level or declining. I had one agency tell me recently that level is the new growth. It's a scary statement when level becomes the new growth. But this is a reality to a lot of independent agents. Remarketing activities, the soft market in both personal and commercial lines. A commodity-like product, increased competition. The direct writers continue to play this game very, very well. The economic economic challenges. We're in the midst of the perfect storm with the economic impact on the buying public, which has changed how they buy their coverage. It's really interesting. Agents have always said that people are very cost conscious, and they would always ask you as agents to help them save money. This is the first time I can remember actually hearing clients begin to ask agents to give them less coverage in order to save money. That's a frightening situation. So all of these things that you have to deal with, all the billing inquiries and how much time that takes up, what do you do about this? How do you begin to combat this and grow your businesses moving forward? One of the first things you have to do is come and take a look at your agency and kind of do that rear view mirror look at where a lot of agencies found themselves and kind of gauge the difficulty in reinventing your agency. As you look in that rear view mirror, I'm finding that a lot of agencies, over time, there have been no investment in personal lines. I know that that is not necessarily the case with a lot of you in here, because I know a lot of you personally. But many agencies did not make up the investment in personal lines. They also found personal insurance was an accommodation to commercial lines. And what has happened with the soft market going on as long as it has right now, many agencies are trying to now reinvest and reinvent themselves as a personal lines entity in order to make up for some of the lost revenue having to do with the economy and some of the failed businesses. Also, a lot of agencies have sold on price. Agency owners have told me that they readily admit that they have been order takers instead of consultants or sales consultants. Agencies are working very hard right now trying to be more consultative and bring more to the equation when they meet with clients. Also, minimal staff accountability. I have had more owners tell me that they realize in their agencies the inmates are running the asylum. That's frightening. We have to begin to hold folks more accountable. I certainly know that you as owners and managers, all of you have a bottom line to manage to. We have to begin to have our folks be more accountable in that process. Also, more reactive than proactive. Many agencies will really admit they are usually more reactive than proactive. And proactive are doing some of those things that really begin to increase the relationship with clients. Being in touch with that client 4 to 6 times a year outside of bills and renewals. When I talk to agency owners, most agencies tell me that they are not in touch with their clients 4 to 6 times a year outside of bills and renewals. That's a proactive touch. Most agencies are not doing ongoing reviews with their accounts. Many of their high-value accounts, they will do that. But the rest of that business doesn't get the same attention. All of those things make a huge difference to retention in an agency. And so many agencies tell me they absolutely have no plan for growth. As I had told this group when I met with you 3 years ago, hope is not a plan. A lot of us are hoping that we meet the numbers. A lot of us are hoping that things happen in our agency. I read an outstanding article by a very astute insurance person having to do with, or actually I wrote an article. Hope is not an agency plan. I was very flattered by the fact that after I spoke here, someone contacted me from Insurance Journal to write a piece on how important I thought planning is to the independent agency process and growing your agency. It is really key in getting things done and putting things down on paper so you can begin to act on those issues.